This video is Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro debunking, in their own words, leftist gender ideology in 8 minutes. So they're gonna crush us all. Old enough to know better now. Thanks so much for giving one to Comrade Aubrey and QZXLYT. Thanks for following. Unless you're that weird guy that has an obsession with me, in which case, that's pretty weird, man. You should get other hobbies. Have you tried, like, model painting? Trust no one, CSM. Thanks for following. 60 years of gender theory destroyed in 8 minutes. Yeah. Yep. Guess we'll find out. Oh, nice. Fireworks are going off in my neighborhood. Cool. You guys want to watch some trash? Let's do it.
When I look at your rise, and look, I talk to people who love what you do. I mean, every time I go on the road and I'm speaking at a campus.
You're not the stalker guy? Hell yeah, that's really good to hear.
You're the #1 name that gets mentioned by people who come to my lectures. And I think that the reason for that I've seen is really twofold. One is that one of the things that you really talk a lot about is the notion of self-discipline and purpose in your life and control, and the idea that you are in control of your decision-making, and your decision-making matters. That's one. And the other is that you have a unique capacity to say no to things. That when somebody says something to you that is illogical but popular, that you...
Ugh, you're a hard leftist? Slapping cheeks. What do you disagree with me about? I'm a rock hard leftist, yes. Rock hard. Fucking too messant with leftism, bro. Wow. Wow. Imagine not being a hard leftist. Imagine being flaccid. Can't relate, slapping cheeks. Can't fucking relate, dude. Erect leftist gang, bro. So what do you disagree with me about them, dude? Since you're so butt mad about my political opinion. 3 minutes was good for me. Next streamer, good luck. Wow, dude. Sounds like somebody doesn't like the marketplace of ideas very much. We got him! Look at this big boy in stream. We got a big boy, chat. A big strong boy. Oh, I did bleep 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 bleep. You're wrong. I'm leaving. Fucking roasted, dude. Flex. All right, dude. Man, that was quick. That was pretty quick. All right, defeated with facts and logic in under 30 seconds. Take that, Ben. Take that, Ben. Fleeing only makes him more erect. True. True.
You have the capacity to say no. That's what happened in that Kathy Newman interview. That somebody was saying something to you that made no sense, and you just said, well...
Not going to argue with you on your stream? You got the stage? Well, here, of course, slapping cheeks, I will offer you the stage alongside me. Simply join the Discord and let's have a discussion about what you disagree with me on. That's how this works here. That's all it takes. Surely you have the mental fortitude to hang with someone that dresses like a corn cob. Or maybe you're just maybe, you're emasculated by me. I'll be streaming in a few weeks. Come pop and chat then. I will not remember you exist after you leave my chat. And no one else will either. So, this is your chance. This is your big shot. I'm going to become a big streamer soon. I'm going to do a stream real soon, guys. No, you're not, bro. You're not. No one's going to watch. You're streaming to yourself. Like, let's be real. Mark your fucking calendars. In a few weeks, whenever that is, mark your calendar and pop on by. All right, dude. Okay. I don't have time for anti-leftist, probably chuds, to come in here and limp dick their way in chat and just be like, yeah, wrong. Nah, you got to step in, bro. You gotta fucking step in. All right. I'm in a fucking corn mascot suit. If you can't fucking handle this, what the fuck are you gonna do on your own stream? Nothing. You're welcome. Don't do it. You can't handle it. Pick another day job. Meanwhile, I'll be fighting for you to have a higher wage while you work that day job. There you go. You're welcome.
No. And then you just stood on that no.
I'll stream Warzone. No one will watch you. Anyway.
And when you stand on that no, I think it gives people a lot of courage.
Logar, thanks for the 50. Trolling streams alone on a Friday night now. True.
Yeah, well, I mean, the gender issue is really an interesting one because one of my professional domains of expertise is individual differences. I'm a personality psychologist, and so I know the gender difference literature. And it's a very solid literature. Well, first of all, it's very solid.
That's a professional person saying the gender literature is very solid. It's just real solid, guys. You know how when things are really solid? You know how when things are really, really solid? You can't say no to them because they're solid.
It has a
Altered Ren, thanks so much, my friend. Hollow Boy with 100 biddies. Heard you mention model painting, so I couldn't help myself. Always be plugging. Hell yeah, dude. Those are really cool, man. You did a good job. Gotta love a mini paint. Kane's Miniatures. There you go. 1, 2, 3. That's a plug.
30-year history. Once per psychologist got the
Only a 30-year history of gender psychology? That's interesting.
personality models down. So that would be the Big Five model. All empirically derived. Straight statistics, right? Brute force empiricism.
Rubla, thanks for one to Altered Ren.
Nobody had a theoretical axe to grind with the Big Five except to say, maybe there are human traits. Maybe they're encapsulated in language. We can use statistical techniques to find out what they are. That was it. That's the whole ideology. So very, very neutral as far as ideologies go. 5 traits emerge. Okay. Are there differences between the sexes? Turns out there are. All right. They're not massive, although if you sum them across all the traits, you can separate men and women with about 75% accuracy.
Wait, hold on. So here's the rub, Jordan. Okay. Okay. So with your old gender ideology, your 30-year-old viewpoint on gender, okay, and the really solid stuff, your 30-year-old information, there's about a 75% of like, oh, I can accurately describe what a man or a woman is going to be. So 25% of the time, 1 out of 4 people, you go, like, that's a lot of fucking people, dude. Do you think maybe a trans individual could slip into one of those? And more interestingly, what if a trans individual accurately, from my point of view, is described by your model? And they say, I'm a woman, they have a penis, and they are described as a woman in your model. Interesting. So not only is there only 75% accuracy, which is good in baseball, but like it's great in baseball. In fact, that's great in basketball. That's pretty goddamn great in football too, if you're a quarterback. Not if you're a kicker. It's not very good when we're talking about gender. Okay. Meaty, thanks so much for the 7 months, dude. 7 months. So you think that maybe a trans person could fit into that 25% or even the broader 75 accurately? I think they could. And people, he don't see us? Well, he can't see you because you're in that 25% he doesn't think is a thing.
So it's not trivial, but you have to sum across all the traits.
Okay.
Then another question comes up.
Okay.
Well, are those differences sociocultural or biological? Okay, we can test that.
Okay.
We'll go around the world. We'll look at cultures. We'll rank order them in terms of the gender equality of their sociological policies. We can do that with broad agreement from the right and the left.
Anonymous Cheer, thanks so much for the 200 biddies, dude.
Then the hypothesis would be, if gender differences decrease among more egalitarian societies, then the gender differences are sociocultural, or at least more sociocultural.
Okay.
That's exactly the opposite of what was found repeatedly. That's pseudoscience. It's like, no, that's mainstream psychology. Those papers have thousands of citations. And right, the average humanities paper has 0 citations, right? And then the next most common one has 1. 3,000, that's an unbelievable classic.
But the thing he's citing doesn't disagree with trans people's validity. I don't understand. The thing he's citing literally backs up the claim that trans people say, hey, I'm not congruent with the gender that you have assigned me from a societal standpoint. It turns out the studies that he says, they agree with that. That's fine. No one's saying that, okay, turns out no trans person in the world says sex doesn't exist. No trans person in the world says my sex is changing when they transition. No, it's gender. And of course, I don't know if he thinks this is different or not. Probably not, because of everything he says always. But like, so the literature is solid. It's pretty solid. Pretty solid. It gives 25% chance that, but pretty solid. Good job. Good fucking job, dude. He's so fucking stupid, man. I for a smart guy, he's very stupid.
And here's the other bit of proof. Like you say, well, how do you know that you can trust someone's judgment about a fact?
About what fact?
The fact emerges despite their ideological presuppositions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's well known that the social sciences and
Dunning and Kruger have a convo about
the humanities have a left tilt, and a lot of that's temperamental, and the tilt has become more pronounced.
So it has wait. There's a left tilt in these spaces because, politically speaking, the more educated you are, and the more people that you encounter, the more likely you are to be less conservative. Not necessarily more leftist. Like, it's not like you're going to be Marxist or anything necessarily, but you'll be less conservative because you'll find out that the things that you conserve aren't necessarily viable to conserve anymore due to your experiences. So, I mean, of course there's going to be a left slant, a left slant in sciences. Of course you just learn more stuff. And I don't even know how to describe that in a different way. There's no way you being exposed to other people's identities, other people's experiences, and just the vast cultures around the world. There's just no way that you can experience that and get more conservative unless you have an ideological reason to do so, right? If you're just absorbing stuff and not taking a slant to it, there's no way you're going to maintain conservatism in the way you did before, if you even were, right? So you'd have to be pretty dishonest with yourself to not find empathy somewhere down the line. You know what I mean? For most people, obviously, there's some people that can't process that, but I'm not going to call every conservative a fucking like sociopath or a psychopath. Someone did a thing. Thanks, Pickle Alien. I thought someone else did a thing. Oh, Muddy Water, thanks for following. And Chrissia, thanks for the 150 biddies. The claim that there's more gender difference in more egalitarian societies is both misleading and based on only 12 questions. The link isn't going to work, but yeah, I'm sure that's not true.
But as Jonathan Haidt has pointed out, there are no conservatives among social personality psychologists, or none to speak
Very
of.
few, yeah.
Aren't you that?
Yeah.
Very few, vanishingly few. And if the field has a bias, it is definitely and indisputably a left-wing bias.
Sure.
Okay, so you have to.
I don't think anyone disagrees with that, right? Because of course the bias isn't necessarily an intentional one, right? Similarly, why the bias in like medicine is very white, and it's accidentally exacerbated the negative effects of medicine on specifically in America, black people, because there's differences. There sometimes you need different stuff. There's predispositions in certain populations. And there's also ways to communicate stuff, and it's just like this is a problem. This is a problem we have to deal with. And so yeah, it's a subconscious bias in times. Yeah, absolutely. Project Bluebird, thanks for following. Well, in specific situations, sure, Quince. But I mean, we're talking obviously broadly, right? And I don't think we would disagree that. And we're not talking about a leftist person. We're talking about anyone that's left of center.
Fight that if you're a scientist, right? Even if
Lou Sad, thanks for the 500 biddies. Ben and Dr. Peterson are obviously correct. The human female, what? He gave 500 biddies this time. They're obviously correct. The human female, much like all other great apes, is the determiner of attractiveness. Oh no, oh bro, are you bad? Are you down bad? The gorilla turns gray. Major turn onto the wait. The gorilla turns gray. I'm assuming. Semicolon major turn on to the ladies. The orangutan gets huge pot belly. Again, lady killer. Whew. I hope you're being sarcastic, but I don't think they are, dude. Yeah, no. I think Lou got a. I don't think. I mean, Lou's entire contribution to the conversation has been in support of these two. So I don't know, unless he's just giving me money. I don't know. I hope. Well, you have like Lucid Fox and DSA stuff. Huh. Yeah, maybe you're trying to do a bit and it's just not like landing. I don't know. But I will take more money. But I will take more money, even if you're not joking. Go for it. 500 still wasn't enough to really understand what you were saying though. Wiley Lever, thanks for following. Or Willie, I guess. You could be Willie. We're getting distracted again. I guess it was kind of distracting. I thought it was on topic, but it turned out to just be fucking. Am I that old? I think it's the way you type, Lou. I think it's the way you type. But at least you don't do the multiple. At least you don't do the multiple periods like my mom. Timed out. Now who can't hang? Well, no, you were affecting the rhythm of the conversation, my dude. So you can hang out. You've obviously been here the whole time, so you can hang out. You mean ellipses? Yeah, but it's not ellipses all the time, right? It's not actually like an ellipses because an ellipses has an intended purpose. But my mom just puts fucking periods, just random fucking periods. They're not like always ellipses. Let me see if I can show you. She's been doing better because Sarah and I talked to her about it. Like I don't know how to even fucking. Let me just find a. When I was doing Potapril, I don't what. When I was doing Potapril, my mom was like, "Hey, 5-pound bags of potatoes are buy one get one free." ... for your Potapril. It's like what? It's so weird. Old people text like that. Old people text like that. Yeah, Jordan Peterson is very much in the he's the sexual marketplace guy. Chimpanzees go ooh ooh and love bananas, so gender is solved science. That's true. Jordan P's value, thanks high temperature for 50 biddies. Is not as statistically significant as he thinks, and he calls himself academic. I know, right? Sarah just lolled. She did. She does that out. She likes to cackle. Anyway, back to JP and this guy.
You're a left-wing scientist. You have to fight that because you want to get to the facts. It was these social scientists who generated the data that suggested that the gender differences not only were real, but that were bigger in egalitarian societies. They didn't do that to grind their ideological axe because their ideological presupposition was.
Hey, don't use autism as a slur in my chat. Last warning. You can be a shitty person in my chat, but don't use it as a slur.
Was, no, you make the society egalitarian, men and women get more the same. It's like, nope, they get more different. Oh,
Wait, what?
isn't that something?
Wait, what? What are you talking about? Wait, why? Wait. Why do they always do this? What is the idea? What is? No, buddy, you used autism as a slur. Don't do it again. Wait, what? Where's what? Oh. Anyway, I don't understand the idea when right-wing people talk about gender. Why do they almost always bring up egalitarianism? Is there anyone out here who's like, there is no difference between how society deems or treats or interacts with men and women? Like, what are you talking about? The whole reason people transition is because there's an obvious difference between, like, what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman in society to different people. That's just the end of that. So there's like this idea that like, well, if we can just willy-nilly change our genders, then I guess there's no difference between anybody ever. And it's like, no, we're highlighting the difference. We're highlighting the difference. We understand that societally there is a difference. In the future, maybe those differences lessen as we move away from the ideologies that create or exacerbate those differences. I'm sure we will always have a very bimodal sexual organization of humans unless we transcend our earthly bodies somehow. But gender itself is the construct through which we are trying to understand who we are as people. And just because the conversation is happening and some people have decided they are happier to live a certain way, it does not mean that they are invalid in any way, Jordan. It doesn't mean that they're like fucking why would he follow after he got banned? Anyway, you're banned. It doesn't really matter. You can't participate in chat, so I guess you could just come hang out sometimes, which is fine. There's just no reason to be upsetty spaghetti about the idea that someone might have a conversation about gender, and over the course of that conversation and others like it will decide, I feel happier presenting socially in this way, and would appreciate it if everybody else treated me with respect for this decision. That's like literally it. That's the whole thing. It's not really different from someone having a name and a nickname and then preferring the nickname over the name. That's it. Like nobody in my life calls me Jacob. They call me Jake. For you, the third party to this, if you are not the person going through that transition, or you're not going through whatever experience this person who we'll call them trans at this point, you don't experience that. If you are outside of that experience and you are just interacting with that person, there's really no reason not to respect whatever decision they make about how you refer to them and how you interact with them. That's basic human bullshit. Like, just really, really basic. That's all it is. That's the conversation. It's not an ideology. It's pretty much just like, hey, be nice. It's the whole thing. That's why the trans conversation is so fucking weird. DV Kern, thanks for following. Because really, at the core of it, a trans person, and I know Jordan Peterson uses the phrase compelled speech. It's not compelled. It's just being fucking asked. And because there's so many people that refuse, it has forced governments and societies to protect those people because you simply can't get over the idea that someone wants to live a life that they didn't before in a way that makes them happier. That's the whole thing.
And so then there's a corollary there, which is, all right, you could still say, and they're kind of pushing in this direction in Scandinavia, boys and girls are different. Men and women are different. It looks biological. But because people are malleable, you could push the sociocultural structure harder and harder to minimize the biological differences. Okay, well, first of all, maybe and maybe not. Maybe you'd get a rebound and they'd get even, like, the kids would rebel.
The biological differences are not important to the conversation. In fact, the biological differences are explicitly highlighted and talked about by the trans community because that's the thing that is incongruent with them. Like what? Like almost always, and obviously we're talking about binary trans people, but even non-binary trans people go through this to some extent because, you know, they're typecast as a certain thing. And this can manifest differently. Some people don't care. A lot of people in here have all pronouns, and they just don't give a shit. But there's still dysphoria sometimes. We have members of the community that are like, well, I don't really care what you call me, but I do care that my body reflects a certain masculine or feminine framework, and I'm not really comfortable with that. I prefer not to have breasts, for instance, or I do prefer to have breasts. And that could be non-binary, but specifically we're talking right now binary trans people because they're not ready for the other conversation. I mean, all you gotta the biology of like being male, right? Me or someone else. You know what male is. You know what female is. The two of the many variations of our bimodal organization. If I was trans, specifically if I was a trans woman, I may or may not have a problem with my biology. But if I did, it wouldn't be because I want to lessen the gap from a biological perspective. I don't think we'd care about that. Maybe you do. But it's definitely for the social stuff, right? It's almost always for the social stuff. Whether the social thing is like just for you or for other people, right? The solo social sort of experience of looking at yourself in the mirror, how you sound when you speak, how you look, your body, of course, if you engage in sexual activity, lots of different things. So I don't know where this like deflection of like trans people are trying to change biology. It's like, no, they're fucking not. I've never talked to a trans person that's like, I'm going to be a female. It's like, I'm going to be a male. No. They want to be socially accepted as the person they are and not feel shitty every day. Not feel that heavy winter coat of whatever the perceived gender is and try to take that off and enjoy and breathe a little bit. Stop being suppressed by this specter of gender that isn't their own. It's something pushed upon them by people like Jordan. It's fucking weird.
That could easily happen. But let's say, okay, you could. The problem with that is that if you cede that much power to the state, like you're basically giving the state the right to socialize your kids.
Right.
It's like, really? Really? You really want to do that? I mean, the people in Israel couldn't do that with the kibbutzes, right? It didn't work. Mm-hmm. So people aren't going to give up their children to the state, and thank God for that.
Well, I mean, this is one of the big questions that we were discussing earlier, is that we were talking about...
What's he talking about with giving children to the state? What does that even mean? What's that have to do with anything? I don't think Ben understands where this conversation went.
Yeah, the polarization in politics between right and left, and obviously you're a psychologist, you're a philosopher, but you've been dragged almost kicking and screaming into this political sphere because everything has been so politicized. And so when you cite social science statistics and they're scientifically based, you're called a racist, you're called a sexist, you're called a homophobe.
I mean, you might be some of those things.
And
called Milo Yiannopoulos.
Exactly. So why is it why do you think it is that so many folks on the left who purport to
Tiger Tank, thanks for
be all about reason and science and objective fact are so willing to throw those out the window the minute that it becomes politically inconvenient for them?
Because you imagine that a cognitive system, so an interpretation of the world, has levels. They're axiomatic levels.
Sure.
Some fundamental presuppositions are more fundamental than others. And you could say, well, the leftists, historically, maybe because of their atheistic rationality.
So now he's... Wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Is he playing... So gender trash is because atheism. All right. Hey. Your atheistic axioms and your rationality. Well, you've left Jesus far behind. Obviously, you want to wear a pretty dress. That's just how it works, chat.
Are more on the side of science than, say, the fundamentalists of any sort. But when push comes to shove, you find out how the axioms are nested. Okay,
so explain that. Jordan Peterson is so consistently macro level, like really barely getting to the point.
There's deeper axioms underneath that, which is that all hierarchies are based on power.
Okay.
And all power plays...
Wait. Are all hierarchies based on power? I mean, not really. Maybe it's power. I feel like I'd rather not use the word power in regard, definitely in capitalism. But I think unjust hierarchies, it's power, but a just hierarchy is a little bit... I kind of want to use the word influence rather than power. I think power has a specific connotation to it. You know what I mean? Authority. But even then, like, so for instance, take a co-op or take any democratic workplace. It's not really power that the manager of that place has. It's influence just over the day-to-day. But because of the democracy in that workplace, the power really lies in the people underneath that manager that have decided, we would like to work for you because we think that you would be very good at this job. I don't feel like the power goes up. I feel like it's bottom up. Does that make sense? I don't know if I like the word power. Maybe power is correct. It's also not really a hierarchy. I mean, it is. It's just a just hierarchy because there's still like levels to it. But anyway, it's sort of a nitpick. It just seems like a strong word, but whatever. Exactly, JOD. That's kind of what I mean. It doesn't have to mean oppression. I think power gives the implication of oppression rather than expertise or just what's the word I'm looking for? Aptitude.
Are based on group identity, tribal identity, essentially. And that the entire history of the world is nothing but a power play between these different identity groups. It's like, okay, well, if the science indicates that some of that's wrong, then do you alter those beliefs or do you alter the science? And the answer to that question is, well, it depends on how you've hierarchically arranged those. If the science is at the bottom, then you alter your beliefs, right? If the scientific facts are the axiomatic substructure, then you alter your beliefs. If your beliefs are the axiomatic substructure...
You're talking to a religious Jewish man who is going, yeah, this is how I think. Ben Shapiro is such a fucking dum-dum.
Then you alter the science. Well, we've seen how that plays out. And one of the things I've tried to do, so to speak, is to diagnose the axiomatic structure. It's like, okay, what's the metaphysical presumption structure of the radical left? Well, what it is you're basically your group. Your groups are basically engaged in warfare, right? And the warfare is arbitrary.
Okay. All right. Your group is in warfare at all times. Okay.
Except insofar as it serves your group. Okay. I don't buy any of that. I think that's a route to certain disaster. I think it's a degeneration into tribalism, and that we will
Simply Carl, thanks for following.
seriously pay for it. Not only because it returns us to tribalism and tribes fight, as the anthropological evidence for that is overwhelming, right? Tribes fight. It doesn't even matter if they're chimpanzee tribes. Even chimpanzee tribes fight. So not only do you regress to a tribalism, but you also invalidate the one proposition that's been able to help us arise above the tribal, which is the idea that the individual should be sovereign. And so I think the culture war is about what's the proper framework within which to view human identity, and
Ben is not absorbing any of this. Look at his empty expression.
what's the relationship between the individual and the group.
Okay, all right. Jordan Peterson is a terrible educator. Terrible. You have to be like in Jordan Peterson's brain to parse his words in an effective way. Like, he's now talking about tribalism in basically saying, like, oh, leftists sort of form mobs and they put social pressure on people, and then due to the social pressure, some people will determine that, like, oh, well, their ideology is going to counter science. In this case, he thinks, of course, that like, scientifically there are two genders or some shit. And so, like, it's not really the answer to the question anymore. He's just sort of fucking saying stuff. Let's finish it up.
In relationship to that identity.
Yep.
And the leftist answer is, it's all group and it's all power. It's like, okay.
What? I just don't think that Jordan Peterson has a good handle on this topic at all. Surprise. Surprise. If you don't know, on my YouTube channel, along with Hannah, called Hannah and Jake, we have done book reviews of Jordan Peterson. We're doing the second book now. We're going to do another one this week, I think. We did the whole first book a few years ago, and the man is just shit. He's a shitty guy. It's just...